friends, it's Becky here. We're changing things up a bit this week. I love baking as much as the next human being, but I thought let's take a break from that. So, Breaks with Becky is making instant ramen today. Instant ramen is something we're all refamiliarizing ourselves with during this quarantine, and even though it's fabulous as is, we're gonna kick it up a notch today. One of my favorite things to add to my ramen is pickled vegetables. What I have here aren't exactly pickles, they're quick pickles, so it's not the natural, lengthy, beautiful fermentation process. These vegetables have been submerged in vinegar, which they will absorb to get their pickliness from. Sort of a mock pickle, if you will. And you can have your very own in a fairly short period of time. I have here my quick pickled beet stems and cucumbers. All you have to do is make a mix of vinegar, salt, sugar, and whatever spices you'd like. In these jars I have a nice mix of mustard seeds, chili flakes, ground ginger, some sesame oil, sesame seeds. The most important thing is that the thinner you slice your vegetables, the faster they will absorb this vinegar. So cucumbers are my favorite for this application, but you can use celery, carrots, beet stems, ginger bits. The possibilities are literally endless. My slices here are super thin, so these were pretty well pickled in about 3 hours, but of course, they're better the longer they sit. I would recommend doing them the night before. But if you can't, once you mix the vegetables in the jar with your pickling liquid, keep them in a kind of warm spot and give them a shake every once in a while we prepare the rest of our stuff. As you're chopping your vegetables for your quick pickles, do not throw away your scraps. These are gold. You will never buy vegetable stock again as long as you save your food scraps. It's not going to be the pretty clear stock you see at restaurants, but I'm not a restaurant. I get to do what I want, so I'm going to make my dirty, delicious stock. Different vegetables are going to lend different flavors in your stock, and so you'll never have the same broth twice, which is kind of exciting. I myself have had this same zip-top bag for 3 years now, and I always add my scraps in here. Once it gets filled up, or halfway up, I know it's time to make stock. So just to give you an example, I've got some apple core and peels, some onion skins and butts, carrot peels, and some wilted lettuce. If you just want enough to make your ramen stock, a few carrot butts and celery leaves will do the trick. Since I have my bag full, I'm going to take advantage and make a giant batch of stock. I'm going to put my vegetables into the pot, putting enough water to cover my veg. Then we're going to turn the heat up and bring that pot to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, I'm going to turn the heat down and let it simmer for 30 minutes. There are certain vegetables that will lend a bitter taste to your stock when boiled, but I don't mind a touch of bitter in my stock. We're also not cooking anything long enough to strengthen any off flavors. While our stock is going, we can work on our soft-boiled eggs. I'm going to put a pot of water to boil. Once it comes up, I'm going to lower my eggs in. We're going to bring the water to more of a simmer, an active simmer, so it doesn't rattle around our eggs too much. We're going to leave that for about 6.5 minutes. Then we're going to transfer it to an ice water bath to stop the cooking process. Next up, I would like to add a little crunch to our ramen. I don't have bean sprouts, which I love in this, but I do have celery, so I'm going to chop that up really thin. I also like something a little aromatic. If you have mint or basil, any leafy green herb, it's nice. Sadly, I don't, but I do have the leaves from my celery. They're the forgotten, unloved child of the food world, but they're fantastic. They taste more like celery than celery, I think. So I'm going to thinly cut these babies and set them aside as well. We can peel our soft-boiled egg now, set that aside. I've also got some sesame seeds, so why the heck not? I'm going to put them on a dry pan and toast them up a little bit. Now that our stock is done, we're going to strain it out. For each ramen, I need 2 cups of broth. I'm cooking for 2 in my house, so we're going to save 4 cups of liquid, pouring that into a smaller pot to season and keep warm. The rest I'm going to freeze for a separate use down the line. If you want, you can add the ramen seasoning packet into your broth, then give it a little taste. I usually like to add a little fresh ginger, a little sriracha, some sesame oil, a little soy sauce. If I ever run out of any of these ingredients, I can usually turn to my clutter drawer where I keep my takeout sauce packets. It's saved many a meal in my house. While we keep that warm, I'm going to set some water to boil to cook my ramen noodles. On my ramen packet, it says to cook for 3 minutes. It's a lie. Don't do it. You want your noodles to have a little chew and a little texture, and these noodles are already going to suck up as much liquid as possible as quickly as possible once you set them in the broth. Your noodles go from chewy to mush really quickly. My family's rule of thumb is whatever ramen you're using, always take 30 seconds to a minute off of the recommended cooking time. My particular ramen packet says 3 minutes. I'm going to give it 2.5. We will drain out the water, place the noodles in the bowl, pour our broth over it, pile in our pickles, our aromatics, our crunchy bits, our sesame seeds, and lastly, We're gonna slice our egg in half and place that in our soup. Then eat it, as fast as humanly possible. Make your instant ramen super fancy without too much effort. What's your favorite way to dress up your instant ramen? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to tune in next week. Or better yet, subscribe to my channel so you never miss out. I can't wait to see the beautiful things you make.